Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You. I'm Julian Clary. In the news this week, at Madame Tussauds, a group of school children are allowed to add the finishing touches to the new model of Sherry Blair. At an umbrella factory in Norfolk, the head of marketing picks a bad day for the press launch of the Super Brolly 3000. And in East London, a caring owner is determined to give his elderly arthritic dog one last go at the postman. On Ian Hislop's team is a political sketch writer who received a letter from a reader recently. I've got a copy here. Said, hello, Quentin. I think your column in the Daily Mail is superb. Always to the point, very funny, and I can't wait to read it every day. Why don't you write a book? Oh, look, there's something at the end. P.S. I am mad. Lovely. Please welcome Quentin Letts. And with Paul Merton this week, a stand-up comedian based in Yorkshire, but who describes himself as a Scotsman underneath. Somehow ginger hairs spring to mind. Please welcome Alun Cochrane. We're going to start with round one. Ian and Quentin, take a look at this.
That's the evil press.
That's the man behind it all.
Max Clifford.
That's the man in front of it all.
Just checking how long he's got left in his job.
There's the real evil genius.
Talking to some children. Only 9-year-olds now believe anything he says.
Another good week for the Labour Party. And you saw Mr. Prescott. Are we allowed to talk about him on the BBC?
Oh, well, I talk of little else.
No, I think we're allowed to talk about it, though obviously the BBC think it's all a bit tacky and vulgar and tasteless and prurient, and I hope we're going to do quite a lot about it.
But we won't mention cocktail sausages.
No.
So it is.
I can't believe that Quentin Letts has done the innuendo before you.
Will you be mentioning cocktail sausages, Julian?
I think we will be, yes. They're very Moorish.
Are they?
Would you? Would you, with Prescott?
Are you actually asking Julian Clary if he'd shag John Prescott?
Not if he has, but if he might.
No, if he would.
Well, you know, if the lights were out.
I think if you were out. Anesthetic.
This is the week of the local elections. In fact, the result of the local elections won't come through until after this programme has been recorded. So I'm going to now do two versions of this so that they can drop in the right one in the edit tomorrow. So here goes. Of course, it was a disastrous night for Tony Blair on Thursday. Of course, it was a completely disastrous night for Tony Blair on Thursday. Now, Quentin, you work for the Daily Mail.
Sometimes.
Yes, you must be very proud. Now, what do you think of the Mail on Sunday paying 250 grand to Max Clifford for Tracy Temple's Diaries?
Well, I don't know. I have to wait till the circulation figures come out, I suppose. But in the public interest, well, thanks, lads. You know, it's been interesting.
We'll cut that.
And also, I like the way she couldn't spell the word busy.
She spelt it B-I-Z-I, of course.
Yes.
I mean, this woman is a very senior civil servant.
Yep.
And it's obviously the government's literacy. The government's literacy.
Literacy. Yes, literacy.
Obviously, the government's literacy strategy is not working very well.
I think also any civil servant has a problem with the word busy.
The most repellent revelation in her diaries, which has been touched on already.
Cocktail sausages?
Yes.
But the filthy Mail actually left this out. They were very prudish about it.
The sausage did surface
Sausage
in,
did.
in the Sun newspaper.
There was a diagram as well, wasn't there? There was, there
What was the Daily Star's helpful contribution this week?
A sausage is sold in butcher shops and is a meat product.
What they did was they booked a couple of models to recreate the office situations described in the diary. And here's where John picked her up at the Christmas party. I would if that really was John Prescott.
Very good teeth, Alan.
Here they are getting out of the lift.
That's a much nicer version than the image in all of our heads, isn't it?
Why did Blair say Prescott is often misunderstood?
Because he's from Hull.
What he said was people don't know the true value of what John does because he often does things behind the scenes. Did any of you see the in-depth analysis on News 24 this week?
I'll go in.
We're joined from Westminster by the Independent's political columnist, Michael Brown. Good evening to you, Michael.
Hello, Joanna.
Let's start talking about John Prescott first of all. He's now adamant he is not going to resign. Do you think he can hold on?
I don't know.
Worth watching.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
They could have asked me.
What was this week's Labour milestone?
9 years.
Yes. Judge us on 9 years rather than on the last 9 minutes.
Don't focus on sleaze and incompetence over the last 9 days. Look at it right across the 9 years.
So, yes, it's Labour's worst week since last week. There was more embarrassment for John Prescott after allegations that he and Tracy Temple had sex in his office with the door open, mainly so he could listen out for the pizza delivery boy.
Not him as well, surely.
Thin and crusty.
Tracy Temple's new celebrity status means she has now been offered the opportunity to appear on Love Island, although from what I've seen, she's already spent 2 years on him. Paul and Alan, here's yours.
Well, Wayne Rooney, of course. And the sad news is that he's broken what used to be called a toe, and he may not be going to the World Cup.
That's pretty much it. There's slight suspicion that it might be to do with the football boot that he was wearing for the first ever time. And there was quite a funny letter in one of the papers this week saying the problem with metatarsals breaking all the time is that modern football boots are no more than carpet slippers. Get back to big lumpy leather boots and studs. And you just think, why did you bother writing that letter? Get a life.
Oh, I read that one. I thought it was terrific.
I was very pleased to see it printed. But now I understand the complete stupidity of my actions. I'm sorry. Who does Wayne Rooney play for? Don't look at your notes.
England. So you may mock. Who else has broken a metatarsal?
David Beckham, Michael Owen.
And not forgetting Wayne Rooney the piglet. He suffered exactly the same injury at the same moment in an amazing coincidence, according to The Star. He was injured when an old sow rolled on top of him. Couldn't make it up, could you? What high-tech treatment have the papers been recommending?
He's going into an oxygen tent, him and his girlfriend. It's just a pity there isn't a carbon monoxide tent, but...
Yes, it's a shame, isn't it? We could murder people. Why can't we just kill the working class? They just get in the way. Just get in the way, don't they?
Now, luckily, someone's emerged this week as a possible replacement for Rooney. Let's see who it is. It is, of course, the ever-popular Boris Johnson playing for an England team of veterans against Germany this week. Would anyone like to see Boris's tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Battered him in the groin.
I can say it's one of the rare occasions when Boris didn't score.
What's the terrible news for footballers' wives?
It's been cancelled. It's been axed. The programme is gone.
True.
Yeah.
Would you like an extra point?
Yes, go on then.
OK.
Thank you.
Point.
So
Look, that's unfair. You can't just give him an extra point.
Do you want a point as well?
Yeah.
It is the news that Wayne Rooney has hurt his foot. There are concerns that new lightweight designer football boots may be responsible for a spate of injuries, mainly to the 6-year-old Indonesian children sewing them together in dimly lit workshops. There are hopes that Wayne might still be fit in time for the World Cup final. Can't say it.
You say it and I'll say the word final and you mine.
There are hopes that Wayne might still be fit in time for the World Cup.
Final.
The last time Wayne Rooney had a problem with bones was when the pensioner he was in bed with had to have a hip replacement. Comes straight to round 2, and it's a welcome return for the Have I Got News for You Wheel of News. Ian and Quentin, you're going to get the first spin. What's that?
1957. There was a survey, one of these surveys that often crops up, that says that people were happier in 1957 in this country than they are in the present day.
Indeed. And why is that surprising?
Well, because people have more material goods now, and so you would perhaps assume that perhaps people are wealthier now, generally speaking, than they were in 1957.
Do you think money makes you happy?
That's a profound one, Julian.
It's not on my card, I just came out with that.
Fantastic, spontaneous question.
Exactly.
Not necessarily is my answer.
According to Professor Lord Richard Layard...
Oh, don't listen to him. Always drunk. He's always drunk.
Do we think that's in any way libelous? Yes, I think it probably is.
He's always drunk, he won't notice. Oh, no, he's not always drunk. If I say that, it's OK.
Yeah.
He is really, though. Just cut that bit out.
Do you know where he's a professor?
He doesn't know himself.
London School of Economics.
That's what he thinks.
And
what does he say at the London School of Economics?
He said, when he could string a sentence together,
Yeah.
he said...
You're both going inside.
Well, for some of us, that isn't a unique experience. So anyway, what does he say?
It's not worth the wait, really.
No.
He said, extra income is not generating extra happiness. And then he said, that'll be £500, please.
I'll take it in wine.
Mine's a sweet shame. I must point out that Professor Lord Richard Laird of the London School of Economics is not always drunk.
He is! Who's like that? You can't get a photograph of him that's not blurred. Fucking London School of Economics. Fuck hell are ya?
It's the BBC's new poll. In order to find out the difference in happiness levels between the present day and the 1950s, researchers interviewed a sample of people living in England in 2006 and a sample of people living in the Isle of Wight in 2006.
You're determined to lose all our audience, aren't you?
If we lose the Isle of Wight, we're sunk. Last people watching.
I don't have televisions there, I don't think.
No.
Paul and Alan, the next spin is for you.
OK. 1957, people are much happier now. Oh, I don't know who he is. Hang on, that's your dog, isn't it?
Yes?
How are the rest of us meant to know it's your dog?
You met her in the makeup room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was serving drinks, don't you remember?
We weren't formally introduced, though.
Can you name Valerie's father?
Oh, don't be stupid.
Is it Norman Lamont?
Yes. Have an extra point.
Thank you.
Clear your minds, I'm spinning again.
OK. That's not George Bush, that's the guy that impersonates him, who was at the Washington... The press journalists, they have an annual do, don't they, and Bush addresses them.
But he was terribly confused by this bloke who appeared looking like him.
Yeah. He was talking at me.
Yeah. And he's making more sense.
Would you like to see a clip of them in action?
Yeah, I bet it's good.
So I want to talk about some serious issues, such as...
Okay.
Here it comes. Nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation. Non-compliance protocols. Sanctioned not only at IAEA formal sessions, but through intersessional contact. We must enhance non-compliance protocols, sanctioned not only at EIEIO formal, but through intersexual conduct.
Did the impersonator manage to convince George Bush that he, in fact, was the president himself, and that George Bush had been booked to impersonate him?
What spurred hundreds of thousands of people to take to the streets in the United States this week?
There was a march on the streets with all the immigrants that work in America, just to show how many of them there are and how important they are to running the country. I think that was the idea of it, wasn't it?
There were millions of cleaners, hotel staff, gardeners and construction workers. Even the plumbers promised to turn up, though they couldn't say whether it would be morning or afternoon. And what did George Bush object to about a new version of the Star-Spangled Spanner?
It's
You know what I mean.
it's the plumbers' national anthem. Star-Spangled Spanner.
Yes.
It's a version recorded in Spanish.
Yes. Latino artists featured on it, including Mexico's Gloria Trevi, Wyclef Jean from Haiti, and from Puerto Rico, Carlos Ponce. I think I did panto with him once. George Bush impersonator Steve Bridges was delighted when the White House asked him to appear in the role of the president at an official function, although he wasn't so happy with their next booking, a tour of Baghdad in an open-topped limo. As part of the clampdown on illegal immigrants, the US authorities are planning to construct a 700-mile security fence along their southern border, just as soon as they can find 5,000 low-paid Mexicans to build it. Round 3 is the odd one out round. Ian and Quentin, your 4 are William Shakespeare, Kate Moss, John Reed, MP, and Boy George.
Kate Moss is the only one that's not bald. That was an odd one out, have you?
No, do you want an extra point?
Yeah, go on then.
Kate Moss is the only one who's not smoking.
Who's not smoking?
Yeah, it's a double negative.
She's the only one who's not a man. I don't
Very
know why
good.
I'm joining in.
You can have a point.
I've won.
This must have something to do with drugs, I think, because Defence Secretary Mr. Reid, some drugs were found in his house.
Yes, cannabis. Street value of 85p, I read.
And Kate Moss also has had trouble with drugs in the past, and so has Boy George. And well, I don't know about Shakespeare.
Is it drugs, Julian?
It is drugs related. You're sniffing around the right general area.
It's Kate Moss.
Yes.
Yeah, because she was secretly filmed.
No.
No.
She is the odd one out, but the answer is they've all had drugs found in their houses except Kate Moss, who carried hers around in a Fabergé egg. I use a Tupperware box. Quentin, how did you describe John Reid once?
As a very soft, understanding, understated, nice guy.
No. You said a nightclub bouncer with narrow eyes, a fist fighter's twitch, and a preemptive hint of rage. Couldn't let me have his phone number, could you? What was ironic about where Dr. Reid was when the drugs were found?
He was in Afghanistan.
Yes. What did John Reid say when he learnt he had been moved to the Department of Health in 2003?
He said, "Oh, fuck."
He said, "Oh, fuck, it's health."
Sorry, where was he born?
No.
In Bangladesh, I think.
2 pipes containing traces of cannabis, hallucinogens and cocaine were found in and around William Shakespeare's house in 2001.
Ooh.
The headline writers had a field day with this story. The Mirror had to E or not to E.
Yes.
The Sun went with Smackbeth. The Express opted for the Merry Whiffs of Windsor, while the Daily Telegraph had Did Shakespeare see inspiration in cocaine? Does anyone know how Boy George avoided prison after the drugs bust?
Did he paint himself yellow and hide in a bowl of custard?
What he did was he copped a plea
Did he?
I've always wanted to say that. He pleaded guilty to wasting police time. I've always wanted to do that as well. According to one court reporter, Boy George could have gone away for 5.5 years. Well, he's been away since the 80s, so another 5.5. It made a lot of difference. He's just as Lee Bowery there, an Australian performance artist, as featured in the musical Taboo, written by Boy George.
I didn't catch that one.
Right.
What sort of shows do you like going to see then?
Oh, I quite like Panto, actually, Julian. Where are you next year?
Northampton. Give me strength.
There goes the East Midlands.
Can we put a special message out? If you're on the Isle of Wight, don't switch over and we like you.
Speak for yourself. Kate Moss, she was the odd one out. A former friend alleged she hid her drugs in a Fabergé egg. And on a visit to Nelson Mandela, apparently Kate came out of the toilet with her eyes watering and her nose running and said, "I'd give it 10 minutes if I were you, Nelson." A small amount of cannabis was found in John Reed's Lanarkshire home near Motherwell. It had a value of 85 pence, and that's after the housing boom. John Reed shares the house with his beautiful young Brazilian wife, and while police were searching the bedroom, they found 85 pence worth of cannabis under the bed and John Prescott hiding in the wardrobe. Paul and Alun, your four are Lonnie Donegan, Martin Salter, MP, Michael Carroll and Quentin Letts.
Michael Carroll was the lottery winner, I think.
Yes.
I can't help but feel that Dustmen are the key here. Would that be right?
Yes, you're doing very well.
Lonnie Donegan had a hit record with My Old Man's Dustman. Quentin here, I think, worked as a dustman at one point. So Michael Carroll must be a dustman, and the guy at the top right, I don't know, must have been a dustman at one point. So Lonnie Donegan is the only one who has been a dustman, but he sang about it because he said his dad was.
It's the right answer.
Thank you very much.
Salter was a lorry driver as well. Can I have a point for that?
Yes, OK.
Yeah, thank you.
Charity now.
Lonnie Donegan had a guitar. Can I have a point for that?
But he couldn't play it properly because somebody super glued his face to the arm.
2 points.
You can have 1 point. Oh, shut up. Michael Carroll worked as a dustman before his £9.7 million lottery win in 2002. Where is he now?
Is he back in jail?
Yes. He's serving 9 months. He's been writing poetry. Would you like to hear some poems?
yes.
Yes, please.
This is what a love poem wrote for his girlfriend after she was also sent to jail. I miss your arms around me. I miss our legs entwined. I wish the judge hadn't sent you down. I wish you just got fined.
I think if he did that as a greeting card, he could make a lot of money. I'm just imagining it in the shop. Birthday, son, anniversary, on you both going to prison.
Before he was put inside, he was planning to stand at the local elections in Norfolk this week on the basis of his fun manifesto. Asbos were going to be replaced by vouchers for a KFC family bucket. Although you would have the right to appeal.
Yes.
Lonnie Donegan was not a dustman, but according to his #1 hit, his old man was. Does anyone remember his Cumberland Gap?
Indeed. And does the chewing gum lose its flavour on the bedpost overnight?
Yes, gambling man.
Yeah.
Gambling man.
Gambling man.
You're a gambler.
I've never heard it. Have you?
No. Lonnie Donegan died in 2002 and Mark Knopfler and Rolf Harris played at his tribute show. Friends say it's what he would have wanted, to be dead at the time. Martin Salter insists that being a dustman didn't affect his love life. He claims he had many girlfriends, although he would refuse to pick them up if they weren't waiting in exactly the right place by the front gate. Time now for the Missing Words round, this week featuring guest publication Strictly Slots magazine. The slot machine magazine for people who like to hold their plums. Here we go with Why Not Pop into Asda and What?
Slit your throat. Admit your life's been a... Why not pop into Asda and see as many canned goods as you get into your underpants and make a dash for the exit?
Why not pop into Asda and ask where the nearest decent supermarket is?
Buy a house.
Pick up a new house. Yes,
Oh,
it
wow.
is. Yes, I
Really?
will accept that. They are to become the first supermarket to offer homes for sale, along with the usual groceries. And why not? There's absolutely no reason why the village idiot who collects the trolleys shouldn't excel as an estate agent. What the word that best describes a night with Celine Dion and Elton John?
Long. Camp.
The answer is wow. As reported in Strictly Slots magazine, they shared a stage at Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. Elton really enjoyed it, but after the concert, Celine had a long face. And finally, 9:27 a.m. what?
3 minutes to go till past.
9:27 a.m. is the new 11s. It appears that women simply can't wait for 11 o'clock before having a cuppa. The research was commissioned by McVitie's, who are launching a new brand of biscuit aimed at women. It melts in the mouth so they don't have to waste time chewing when they could be talking. The final scores are Ian and Quentin, 9, Paul and Alan, 11.
Ooh,
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition. Ian and Quentin have this.
oh, I've just popped into Asda.
Paul and Alan, you get this.
Cloning experiment, terrible disaster.
Blair makeover now complete. Stay experts.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Quentin Letts, Paul Merton and Alan Cochrane. And I leave you with the news that in Westminster, Michael Howard denies rumours his wife has been run over by a motorbike. And in the celebrity section of this year's Crufts, there's a Best in Show rosette for Bob Geldof's Doberman. Good night.
The one to watch tonight, Mel and Griff with all their favourite moments, the Smith & Jones sketchbook, coming up next on BBC One. And later, Kiefer Sutherland and Kristen Davis from Sex and the City on Friday night with Jonathan Ross at 10:35.
And there's evidence that even before he was sacked, Charles Clarke was aware that people were talking about him behind his back.